what's this man doing here? He's got something. What's he got? We read about it. What do you think, Grace?
So a man took a sponge and put vinegar and wine in it and put it on a stick.
Perfect answer. He put wine vinegar in it and he gives it to Jesus to drink. Now Jesus, I don't think, drinks from it. And earlier, before he got crucified, somebody else tried to give him wine mixed with a kind of poison. And sometimes they would give that to people, in prisoners, almost to speed up the death process, almost so that they didn't have to hang so long on the cross. It was like a humane thing to do. But because it was poison, when Jesus tasted it before he was crucified, he said, no, I'm not drinking that. He didn't want to die of poisoning. He didn't want to not feel what he was going through. Because if he died of poisoning, then he wouldn't have shed his blood. Now that's very important. He needed not to have died of anything that he drank. He needed to make sure he died of being crucified. It sounds horrible, isn't it? But it's only when he shed his blood that the Bible helps us to understand that we're saved. And finally, Jesus dies. The crucifixion has done its job, and now Jesus is no more. He's died. And some very strange things happen. Not only is it gone dark, there is a big earthquake. Okay, and the earthquake causes something to happen in the temple. What happens in the temple, Donna?
The temple was split in half.
Well, the whole temple doesn't split in half, but the curtain splits in half. That separates where the normal people can go from only where the priest can go. And behind the curtain is where they used to bring the sacrifices. But now the curtain has been torn, it's like God is saying, okay, everybody, we don't need to do these sacrifices anymore. Why don't we need to do these animal sacrifices that have been going on all the way through the Old Testament? Why not?
Because the sin has been taken care of.
Because the sins have finally been taken care of by the perfect sacrifice that is Jesus. Incredible, isn't it? That so many of these important things happened on this day, and they help us to understand so much. But it wasn't just that the temple curtain was torn in two and there was an earthquake. What did the earthquake cause to happen? What happened, Grace?
That all the dead people rose up.
Shall we see the dead people rising up here? They come out of their graves, don't they? Now, I don't know how many there were. Now, we have earthquakes around here sometimes, but what I'm glad about is when there's an earthquake, all the dead don't come back to life. But it shows, doesn't it, that something is happening, that Jesus' death has already started to do great things. Now, it must have been pretty freaky, not only for everyone else to see people coming out still wearing their grave clothes. It would be a horror movie, but also it would probably freak these guys out, thinking, "Wow, hang on a minute, I was dead in a cave a minute ago. Now suddenly I'm running around." But it shows that Jesus, his death, is giving people power over death. That's why he came to die, so that we might live forever. So not only do we see the old system has gone and the curtain has been torn, but now we're seeing that even, it's not everybody who was ever dead who came back to life, but God just made some people come back to life so that the people could know, wow, this person who we've crucified, he has the power over death. And there's one more thing that happened, because not only do we see that Jesus is starting to defeat sin by tearing the curtain and by bringing the dead back to life, we start to see a change in a person. Because this person points up at Jesus and says something. What person is that, Donna?
Is that the general of the Romans?
The kind of general of the Romans, he's called the centurion, and I think a centurion was in charge of 100 Roman soldiers. And he's pointing up at Jesus. Do you remember what he says? And remember, he was part of the crew of soldiers who crucified him. What does he say, Henry?
He has done these things. Surely he must be the Son of God.
Surely he was the Son of God, or surely he is the Son of God. Now, you think about it, that's quite a strong thing for a Roman to say, because the Romans believed in all their gods, didn't they? But here he is finally saying, oh my goodness, this man was the Son of God. He is being changed by God. God is not only showing that the dead are coming back to life and that the old system has changed, that people can now come right into the presence of God, but he's also showing that people's hearts are being changed straight away. Incredible story, isn't it? Incredible. I mean, imagine what it would have been like to be there, to witness all these things. Now, I don't know if these people were there for the whole day watching all these things happen, but I'm just showing that people were kind of around and watching what was going on. But it shows that Jesus came to sort out the sin problem. We've seen how sinful people can be. We've seen how Jesus deals with it. And we've seen the result of his death, making sure that we who were once a long way away from God are now very close to him.